I was 16 when it happened. One morning, I woke up to find a note taped to my bedroom door. You need to leave. Now. My heart dropped. I ran downstairs, expecting some explanation, but all I got were my parents' cold eyes. Your sister told us what you've been up to. My father said, voice flat, and we can't have that in our house. What? I haven't done anything. I pleaded, desperation clawing at my throat. My mother shook her head. We can't argue about it. You're leaving. I packed what little I owned in silence, the weight of betrayal pressing down on me. My sister, smug and silent, just watched from the corner, enjoying every moment. I left our home in the pouring rain, carrying a backpack and a lifetime of confusion. The streets became my home. Nights were the hardest, sleeping on benches, wandering until dawn, trying to avoid trouble while figuring out how to survive. I got a part-time job at a diner, earning barely enough for food, sometimes missing meals entirely. I missed school, my friends, the warmth of my family, though that warmth had vanished the moment they believed her lies. I thought about confronting them, about telling them the truth, but fear kept me silent. Every call I tried ended in rejection. Every visit ended with slammed doors. The rumors had poisoned their hearts against me, and nothing I did could undo it. Years passed. I learned to fend for myself, to survive, and then to thrive. Every setback became fuel. Every cold shoulder, a push forward. I became someone they'd never expected, someone strong, independent, and unbreakable. I often wondered if they even thought about me, if guilt ever crossed their minds. Little did I know, the day was coming when the roles would reverse, and the truth would reach them in a way that could never be ignored. The teen they cast out in shame was about to walk back into their lives, not begging, not apologizing, but claiming a place they had never truly earned. By the time I was 19, I had built a life from the ruins they left me. I moved to a new city, changed my phone number, and worked tirelessly at 2 jobs, often sleeping only a few hours a night. I refused to let my sister's lies define me. Every rejection, every "you're not good enough" echoed in my mind, but I transformed that echo into determination. I rented a small studio apartment that barely fit my belongings, but it was mine. Every penny I earned went toward survival, toward building something bigger, toward proving that I wasn't the failure they claimed I was. I learned to budget ruthlessly, to cook from scratch, and to stretch every cent. My life became discipline, my routine strict, my mind sharp. I enrolled in night classes, pushing through exhaustion, refusing to let my education slip away. While my peers slept or partied, I studied. I learned about business, finance, and investments. Slowly, the pieces came together. I discovered the world beyond my small city and realized opportunity existed for those willing to fight for it. It wasn't easy. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, wishing for a kind word from my parents, for my sister to admit the truth, for justice. But I never asked for charity. I didn't want their pity. I wanted to rise on my own, stronger than ever, so that when the time came, no one could dismiss me again. By the age of 22, I had saved enough to start a small business. It began as an online venture selling handmade goods, simple, modest, but it grew fast. I poured myself into it, using every lesson I'd learned from my struggles. Negotiating, managing, marketing, I became a master of survival turned entrepreneur. My reputation for efficiency and honesty attracted partners, and my little online shop became a thriving enterprise. And then came the turning point. I inherited a small investment from an old mentor who had recognized my drive and determination. That seed money, combined with my experience, allowed me to expand my business into real estate and consulting. Within 3 years, I went from barely scraping by to managing assets worth millions. I became a force in my city, respected by peers, envied by competitors, and utterly unstoppable. Meanwhile, my family remained unchanged, trapped in the same petty squabbles and judgments that had caused me to leave. I stayed away, silent, watching from afar. Occasionally, I'd hear updates through mutual contacts. My sister had a new boyfriend. My brother was complaining about financial issues. My parents were still stuck in their narrow, judgmental world. And every time, I reminded myself that I owed them nothing, not an explanation, not forgiveness, not attention. Then the day came I had been waiting for. A business deal required me to travel back to the city where my family still lived. I could have stayed elsewhere, but something inside me told me this was the moment of reckoning. I walked past the streets I had once wandered homeless, past the cafe where I first learned to manage a checkbook, past the high school I had left behind in disgrace. Every memory fueled me. I saw them first at a small family gathering. My parents, my sister, my brother. They hadn't seen me in years. I approached calmly, composed, dressed in tailored business attire, carrying the confidence that had been forged through years of struggle and perseverance. Their mouths opened, then closed, words failing them. Their eyes widened as they registered not the 16-year-old they cast out, but the powerful woman standing before them. I didn't need to speak immediately. My presence alone told the story of resilience, of triumph, of a life rebuilt from ashes. I watched their faces twist through confusion, shock, and fear. They had assumed I'd remain small, defeated, dependent. They hadn't realized that abandoning me had only unleashed the strength they had tried to suppress. When I finally spoke, my voice was calm, even, and firm. I'm here because I said I'd come back, not to beg, not to apologize, but to show you what you missed. The person you cast aside is exactly who I was meant to be, independent, strong, and unstoppable. My sister, the one who had spread lies and caused my exile, paled. She opened her mouth, but I continued before she could interrupt. Everything you thought you could take from me, every insult, every act of betrayal, has only made me richer, smarter, and more capable. You didn't destroy me, you made me. My parents, who had once wielded authority like a weapon, now had nothing to say. Their disappointment and fear mirrored the years of my struggle and success. For the first time, I held the power. Not vengeance, not anger, but undeniable proof of what I had built on my own. That day, I didn't just walk into a room. I walked into history, my own history, one that my family had underestimated. I was no longer the child they could control or the target of their petty judgments. I had become the architect of my destiny, and every glance at their shocked faces reminded me that nothing, and no one, could ever take that away. The teen they abandoned had returned as a woman they couldn't ignore. The girl who left in tears had come back in triumph, and in that moment, the past didn't matter anymore. Only the future I had fought for and earned remained. I walked into the room, calm and confident, the person they had dismissed years ago. My sister's jaw dropped, my parents froze. I said nothing at first. My success, my presence, my independence spoke for me. Every insult, every betrayal had only made me stronger. The child they cast out had returned, unstoppable,